In the candlelit backrooms of 18th century Europe, an age of kings, churches, censorship, and secret police, ideas could be as dangerous as gunpowder. To speak too loudly about freedom of thought, about science over superstition, about a world governed by reason instead of fear, could cost you your career, your liberty, even your life. And in that tense, electric atmosphere, one name would eventually echo through centuries like a whisper that refuses to die: the Illuminati. Today, it's a word loaded with mystery, invoked to explain everything from revolutions to pop culture to global politics. But if we strip away the memes, the horror stories, and the modern conspiracy fog, what is the real history of the Illuminati? Where did it actually begin? What did it really want? And why did it become the most famous secret society in the world? To understand it, we have to travel to Bavaria, part of the Holy Roman Empire in the 1700s. Where the Catholic Church held immense power, universities were closely watched, and political life was dominated by aristocracy. Europe was in the middle of the Enlightenment, a cultural earthquake that pushed new ideas: natural rights, religious tolerance, constitutional government, and the belief that human beings could improve society through education and reason. But the Enlightenment wasn't just a polite salon conversation. It was a threat. It questioned old hierarchies. It asked whether authority should be earned, not inherited. And in many places, speaking those questions out loud could make you an enemy of the state. This is the soil where secret societies flourished, not just out of romance or theatrics, but out of necessity. Enter Adam Weishaupt, born in 1748 in Ingolstadt, Bavaria. Weishaupt was brilliant, ambitious, and shaped by a world where knowledge was tightly controlled. Raised in a Catholic environment and educated at the University of Ingolstadt, he became a professor of canon law, church law. An insider in the very system he would come to criticize. Weishaupt was no cartoon villain in a hooded robe. He was a product of the Enlightenment, deeply influenced by rationalist thinkers and frustrated by what he saw as ignorance enforced by power. He believed that superstition, authoritarian politics, and religious dominance held humanity back. And he didn't just want to complain about it. He wanted to build something, quietly, carefully, that could educate members, spread reformist ideas, and, over time, reshape society. On May 1, 1776, Weishaupt founded a group he first called the Perfectibilists, a name that practically radiates Enlightenment optimism. The idea that humans could be perfected or at least improved through education and moral development. Soon, the group became known as the Order of the Illuminati, Illuminat meaning the Enlightened Ones. This wasn't an ancient cult descending from pyramids or Babylonian priests. It was a modern organization born in a very specific historical moment, with a very specific aim: to create a network of educated men committed to reason, ethical reform, and resistance to tyranny, especially the tyranny of censorship and clerical control. But here's the twist. While the Illuminati spoke the language of virtue and knowledge, they also believed secrecy was essential. They built a layered structure with ranks, codes, and initiation rituals. Members used pseudonyms. Weishaupt, for example, took the name Spartacus, invoking the slave leader who rebelled against Rome. Others adopted classical names too, as if to declare, "We belong to the legacy of ancient reason, not modern oppression." They wrote letters in cipher. They created internal reports on recruits. They demanded discipline. To many modern ears, this sounds sinister. But in the 1770s, secrecy was often the difference between survival and annihilation. A reformist network operating openly could be crushed. A network operating quietly could grow. Still, secrecy had another effect. It created an aura. The more a group hides, the more people imagine what must be inside. And the Illuminati, from the beginning, were masters of organization. Their recruitment strategy was practical. Target intelligent, socially connected men, students, professors, lawyers, writers, civil servants, people who could influence culture and policy. They wanted to create a pipeline of reform-minded elites, not a violent army. They were not primarily plotting assassinations in dark corridors. They were building a disciplined intellectual movement, one that aimed to steer society through influence, education, and gradual change. And as the order expanded, it became more ambitious, drawing in members who saw it as a tool not just for personal improvement, but for social transformation. The turning point came when the Illuminati encountered Freemasonry. Freemasons were already well established across Europe, a fraternity with rituals, symbols, and lodges that brought together men from different backgrounds. Freemasonry was not a single centralized conspiracy either. It was a broad, varied movement. But it offered something powerful: a ready-made infrastructure of lodges and networks. Some Illuminati leaders began to see Freemasonry as a vehicle, something they could join, influence, and use to expand the Illuminati's reach. In the early 1780s, Illuminati members infiltrated or recruited within Masonic circles, and the order's membership grew rapidly. This is one of the reasons the Illuminati later became tied, in the public imagination, to Masonic symbols like the all-seeing eye, even though the historical reality is more complicated. The Illuminati didn't invent every symbol later associated with them, but they did move through social worlds where symbolism and ritual were common language. At its peak, historians estimate the Bavarian Illuminati may have had somewhere between a few hundred to perhaps a couple thousand members, significant, but not all-powerful. Its membership reportedly included influential figures, intellectuals, officials, and possibly some aristocrats sympathetic to Enlightenment ideas. And here is where the story becomes emotionally charged, because the Illuminati's dream was both daring and fragile. They believed that education could free the mind. They believed that moral discipline could produce better leaders. They believed that society could be redesigned to be more just. But they also believed, perhaps naively, that they could manage this through a secretive hierarchy without becoming what they claimed to fight. As the organization grew, internal conflicts erupted, disagreements over leadership, ideology, and control. Some members wanted more radical political action, others wanted slow reform. Weishaupt himself clashed with key allies, including Baron Adolf von Kaniga, a prominent recruit who helped restructure the order and expand it. Kaniga was instrumental, charismatic, and influential, but he also challenged Weishaupt's authority. Their relationship fractured, and with that fracture came leaks, resentment, and vulnerability. And then, the backlash arrived, fast, fierce, and decisive. Bavaria's ruling authorities, alarmed by the spread of secret societies and anxious about revolutionary ideas, began to investigate. In 1784, the Bavarian government issued edicts against unauthorized societies. By 1785, the crackdown intensified. Homes were searched. Papers were seized. Letters and internal documents were collected. Documents that revealed the Illuminati structure, recruitment tactics, and critiques of religion and state power. Those captured texts became the fuel for both real-world suppression and later myth-making. Authorities portrayed the order as dangerous subversives. Members were interrogated. Some were removed from positions. Weishaupt lost his professorship and fled Bavaria, eventually finding refuge under the protection of Duke Ernst II of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg. The order, as a functioning organization, collapsed. By the late 1780s, the Bavarian Illuminati as an active, coordinated group was effectively dead. So why didn't the story end there? Why is Illuminat still spoken with fascination and dread centuries later? Because even when the organization died, its name survived, and names have power. The timing of the Illuminati's downfall overlapped with a shockwave that shook the entire world, the French Revolution. As France erupted in 1789, Europe's monarchies and conservative institutions panicked. They searched desperately for explanations. How could centuries-old authority crumble so violently? How could a king be dragged to execution? How could priests be challenged, nobles dethroned, society rewritten? In the chaos, conspiracy theories thrive. And some writers claim that secret societies, Freemasons, philosophers, and yes, the Illuminati, had orchestrated the revolution behind the scenes. Two of the most influential voices were Augustin Barruel, a French Jesuit priest, and John Robisson, a Scottish scientist. Both published works in the 1790s arguing that the revolution was not merely political and social upheaval, but the product of deliberate subversion by clandestine groups. Their books were widely read and helped cement the Illuminati's posthumous reputation as puppet masters of history. Here's the crucial point. The real Bavarian Illuminati was suppressed years before the French Revolution reached its height, and there's no solid historical evidence that they orchestrated it. What did happen is more human, and more haunting. A relatively small Enlightenment-era secret society became a symbol, an empty mask that later fears could wear. People anxious about revolution, secularism, and social change found a convenient villain. The Illuminati, already known to have existed and already associated with secrecy, became the perfect container for suspicion. And once a conspiracy narrative takes hold, it doesn't need proof. It needs only emotional logic. Everything is changing, therefore someone must be controlling it. Through the 19th century, the Illuminati remained a recurring character in political paranoia and sensational literature. In different countries and contexts, It became shorthand for hidden influence, anti-clerical plots, anti-monarchist networks, or, depending on who was speaking, threats to religion, tradition, and national identity. The name was revived again and again, not as the actual Bavarian order, but as a mythic idea. And myths evolve. They absorb symbols, borrow stories, merge with other fears. Over time, the Illuminati myth blended with anxieties about modern banking, industrialization, colonial politics, and later the rise of mass media. The Illuminati became a narrative shortcut. If something feels too complex to explain, if systems seem too powerful to fight, then maybe a hidden hand is pulling the strings. In the 20th century, the legend exploded further, fueled by propaganda, fringe pamphlets, and later, pop culture. After World Wars and during the Cold War, secret plots felt believable to many people because governments really did engage in secrecy, intelligence operations, and covert influence. That reality provided oxygen for imagined realities. By the late 20th century, novels, films, and especially the internet turned the Illuminati into a global brand of mystery. It became entertainment, identity, and anxiety all at once. And in the 21st century, social media supercharged it. A symbol in a music video becomes proof, a triangle on a dollar bill becomes confirmation. A celebrity gesture becomes initiation. The Illuminati transformed from an 18th century reformist club into a modern mythological monster, supposedly omnipresent, unstoppable, everywhere and nowhere. But if we return to the documents, the dates, the real people, we find something both less sensational and more revealing. The Bavarian Illuminati were not supernatural overlords. They were a product of their time, educated men reacting to censorship and authoritarian structures, trying to build a disciplined network for reform. Their secrecy was strategic and ideological, but it also made them vulnerable. Their ambitions grew faster than their unity. Their internal politics weakened them. And the state, when threatened, acted with speed and force. Their story is a reminder that ideas are powerful, and that power fears organized ideas. So what, then, is the real history of the Illuminati? It's the story of Adam Weishaupt and the Enlightenment's risky dreams. It's the story of how secrecy can protect a movement, and also doom it. It's the story of how a small organization can become a giant symbol once society needs a villain. And it's the story of how conspiracy myths often reveal less about the supposed conspirators, and more about the anxieties of the people telling the tale. Because when the world feels chaotic, the idea of a single hidden controller can feel strangely comforting. At least someone is in charge, even if they're evil. The truth is more frightening and more liberating. History is shaped by countless forces: economic pressures, social movements, ideology, chance, courage, fear, and yes, sometimes secret meetings, but rarely a single omnipotent hand. And here's the emotional core. The Illuminati began with a belief that human beings could become wiser, freer, better. That belief was dangerous in an age of rigid authority. The order collapsed, but the hunger for meaning did not. In the vacuum of uncertainty, the Illuminati name survived, not as an organization, but as a mirror. In that mirror, each generation sees its own fears: fear of losing control, fear of being manipulated, fear that truth is hidden, fear that the world is run by forces beyond ordinary people. The real Bavarian Illuminati were defeated by a government crackdown in the 1780s. The mythical Illuminati, however, can't be arrested, because it lives in stories. Stories we tell when reality feels too complicated, too unfair, too overwhelming. So the next time you hear someone say the Illuminati, pause and ask, are we talking about the documented order founded in Bavaria on May 1st, 1776, an Enlightenment-era secret society suppressed less than a decade later? Or are we talking about the modern legend, stitched together from centuries of fear, fiction, and fascination? Because one is history, and the other is mythology. And if we want to be truly illuminated, truly enlightened, we have to learn the difference, without losing sight of the very real lesson buried inside this tale, that ideas, once born, never truly die. They either evolve into progress, or mutate into shadows.